Hi, good morning, welcome back. And today, new horse in the stable, Triumph Rocket 3. Okay, Triumph Rocket 3 Roadster 2012. So how did this come about? Well, having spent more than a decade working in the motorcycle industry, I made quite a lot of contacts in the trade that I stay in touch with to this day. And one of my old mates phoned me up and said, listen, we've taken this Rocket 3 into trade-in a part exchange for a new one, but it's proper edgy, it's a little bit scruffy, something we can't retail. And our valeters are tied up with brand new bikes being PDI'd and normal work going through the system. So this is kind of a bit of a project. Are you interested? Well, of course, but I didn't have the budget to go buying a Rocket 3 for a project at this particular time. But I did have a bike to trade. So we had a sit down across the desk and a few cups of tea and we thrashed out a deal, and I literally traded another motorcycle in for this in a straight trade. No money changed hands, good old fashioned barter and exchange. They're happy, they've got a bike they can retail straight away, and I'm happy because I've got a Rocket 3. So what am I going to do with it? Well, above all else, I want to ride it first. More than anything, I've never had one of these. 43 years riding motorcycles on the road. In all the bikes I've had in that time, I never bought a Rocket 3. I always got the odd opportunity now and again to get one, but I can never justify the money because they're not cheap. But now one's come my way. In a blinding deal, I can enjoy it for the first time, and I'm really looking forward to it. But before I ride this big old elephant, there's 3 pressing jobs to be done straight away before I can go out and enjoy it. Now, the first job is to clean it up. One of the reasons my mate called me and said, look, this is a bit beyond us in condition, our valeters would just not have the time to do it, is that even a standard professional valet on this wouldn't be enough. It's in a dreadful state, but we'll come back to that in a minute because that's going to be the subject of the next video, and we'll talk about that at the end. The second job is related to the engine. I noticed when I rode it home that it's got an awkward little stutter at about 1200 revs just as you pull away. It could be related to the fuel injection, it could be related to some sort of neglect, maybe it's been sat a long time, I don't know, but it's definitely doing it even at working temperature. You go to pull away, it bogs down, it stutters a bit, and then it picks up and absolutely flies, but that's not correct. It should be smooth all the way around. So there'll be a job getting that sorted out, and I think this will be a great opportunity to actually take it to a dyno and get all the diagnostics done and then sort out those problems, and then maybe get a remap at the end and see if we can get a few more ponies from it so it's absolutely working at its best. And we'll obviously take the cameras along and we'll show you that. But the third job is really interesting, a lot more simple. It's related to the tyres. Let me show you the date on these boots. All right, front tyre is dated 14/11. Rear tyre dated 48/11. So that makes the front tyre April 2011 and the rear tyre roughly November 2011. Those tyres are 13 years old and the bikes are 2012. So that makes the tyres a little bit older than the bike, meaning they were obviously the tyres fitted at the factory when the bike was built. Now, they aren't cracked or perished and they aren't worn out, but they are 13 years old. And I think you'll all agree that on a bike like this, that won't do. They definitely need replacing. So how does a motorcycle end up in this raggedy condition with its original factory tyres on 12 years old and no wear on those tyres? What on earth is the mileage? Let me show you. So when my mate phoned me up and said, look, we've got this raggedy old Rocket 3. She's a tired old girl, but she's only done 3,500 miles. Are you interested? First thing I thought was, really? 3,500 miles? Really? I've got to see this. So I went straight over and had a look at it, and true enough, the bike tells me, without any shadow of a doubt, that it's only done 3,500 miles. The first thing is the tyres. They are the original factory tyres from 12 years ago. There's no way, those dates can't lie. The next is the discs. Rub your fingers on the disc either side and feel for any grooves, any score lines in the discs, which is an indication of high mileage. And all 3 discs are absolutely mirror smooth, like they're brand new. There's no wear on the discs at all. And all 3 sets of brake pads are only just off brand new. So definitely the brakes and the tyres tell me it's only done 3,500 miles. So with absolute confidence in the mileage that it has in fact done only 3,500 miles in 12 years, I was still a little bit confused as to how a motorcycle could end up in this physical condition after such little mileage. And then I took a look through the service history and it all became clear. Now, I've got a wad of service receipts. That's good. I like that. It shows it's been serviced regularly throughout its life, and each one of those receipts has got mileage, which tells me that it is actually what it says on the Speedo. The other one that's more official than that is the MOT service record. Now, I think many people already know outside the UK that we have to have an annual inspection on our bikes for roadworthiness. I think many countries have a similar version of it themselves. Well, in with that inspection, they record the mileage on a certificate. Not just that, but here they put the mileage of all the previous years on the certificate as well. And that's really handy because I can see very clearly from this mileage record that it had 3 years off the road between 2015 and 2018. And then it was off the road again between 2021 and 24. It was put back on the road in June this year. So there it is, 6 years of its life, it's been off the road. Which, if you think about it, 3,700 miles in 6 years, that's perfectly possible. So why has it ended up in such a state? Well, that's easy. Perhaps the guy didn't have a garage. Perhaps it had to live under a carport or outdoors altogether under a cover, or maybe a barn that was damp, because thankfully, the damage to the bike is not road damage. It's not grip blast. It's not salt corrosion. All it is the chrome has horribly corroded through moisture in the atmosphere. The guy lived in a rural area, potentially quite a damp atmosphere, especially in winter. This is England. It rains every third day in England. So this bike has simply been in a damp atmosphere for many years, 6 of those years laid up doing absolutely nothing, left to fester. And this is the result. So let's have a quick look around the bike and you'll see exactly what I mean. And we now need to decide whether I can clean this bike up, because that's the first task, or whether I'm going to need professional help. The first thing I noticed when I approached the bike, when I went to look at it, was these exhaust stud nuts. They're absolutely horrendous. Look at the state of them. They've just corroded to death. Awful. They're obviously mild steel nuts, not designed for this environment. But thankfully, the stud on the inside is still shiny silver and clean as a whistle. And coming on the end of the nut as well, you can see down inside at the end of the stud, that's still clean and shiny silver. So it's just the nuts themselves that we need to replace. And they're going to be scary to get off because they're going to lock themselves in place. And these ones down inside, I've already started to soak those in Acro so that it penetrates over the next couple of weeks before I get to replacing those nuts and taking the exhaust off for a refurb. And by the way, those who know will know, I use Acro because I believe it's one of the best penetrating oils on the market. I found that in practice, this will get fasteners undone where many others will fail. Anyway, I left the top 3 dry just to show you how bad they are. Now, all I'm going to do is put a tiny spot of this on there. You don't need much of this. Use it very sparingly and it will start doing its work. And you just top it up, put a little bit more on every day for the next week or 2, and eventually it will penetrate right the way through and they'll come off nice and easy with no dramas. Now, as I've already said, this bike hasn't suffered the effects of high mileage. That is to say, the road damage that you get from the salt and the grip blast at high mileage, which then gets underneath the painted finish and starts bubbling it and flaking it all off, gets around the fasteners and the bolts and starts corroding and rusting them. There's none of that. This bike is practically immaculate in that sense because it's only done 3,500 genuine miles. The damage seems to be restricted to the bright work. All the chrome seems to have suffered horribly, and it's got that horrible waxy patina. It's rough to the touch and it's got little pit marks all over it. So let's see, just initially, whether good old-fashioned auto sole will bring that back. Who knows? Well, that came up okay, although there are a few little marks still on it. That's a lot better than I thought it would be. But that's plastic, and that's easy to get clean. Let's see if the chromed metal parts come up as well as that. All right, this is a metal backrest support, and there's little red spots of rust. Let's see how we get on. You can hear how rough that is. It's like sandpaper to the touch. Now that is nice and shiny, but I can still feel all the pitted marks in it. So sadly, I fear that the chrome may be too far gone, but there's one place I can tell for sure whether it is or not, and that's under the fairing. Oh my God. Oh no. Now I think you'll agree that is a little bit too far for a tube of Autosol. That needs professional help. Unfortunately, another contact I have from my old days in the bike trade, he's now a professional motorcycle detailer. He can take a bike that looks like it's been living in a swamp and turn it out as a showroom bike. Now it does take him a week or so to do it. It's a lot of work and a lot of labour. We did touch on detailing a little while ago when we did the ceramic coating video, but this, as I said, I think this is something for him. This is a professional advice that I need for this, to see whether or not this chrome can be cleaned and protected with things like ACF and whatnot so that it stays bright and shiny, or whether it's too far gone, we need to look at getting things replated and refinished, which will be a lot more money. So we've established the first direction with this project. It's genuinely 3,500 miles, no question of that, but all the bright work has gone all sour and corroded and pitted, and we're going to go along in the next video to see a professional detailer to see what he can do to help us out with that. The second problem was the running fault. It's got that stutter just off idle. So let's give you a listen to that, what that sounds like. That's R2-D2. What's that? Now, as you heard there, it's stuttering just off idle, and there could be a number of things causing that. I spoke to a mate of mine who's got a dyno, and he said, yeah, it could be the injectors. It's been laid up for 3 years. They could be dirty. It could be the fuel filter in the tank. We'll have a look at that as well. He said it also could be that crusty exhaust paste that you've got in the bottom joint of the exhaust. That could be causing a bad air leak. So one way or another, we can put it on the dyno, roll it up, get a good diagnostic, and we can sort out all those problems. And after that, we might put a cheeky remap in it, make it a little bit quicker as well, which would be nice. Now, there's one more thing you might be able to help me with. Okay. When I first saw the bike, I took one look at this fairing and I thought, aha, Harley Davidson lookalike, batwing fairing. Fiberglass, probably cheap and cheerful. That's coming straight off, don't like that. But then I took a closer look at it and I realised what it actually is. On closer inspection, this isn't some cheap copy of a Harley batwing. This is a Corbin Freightliner fairing. And when I looked up the price online, I nearly fell off my chair. These are ferociously expensive and beautifully made. Inside and outside is the same finish. They're actually really heavy. It's about 5 kilos. So then suddenly it's not some cheap thing to chuck off the bike. Batwing fairing, is it cool or not? Were my first impressions and intentions correct? Don't like it, going to take it off. Have I been swayed by the price of them, by the value of something like this? Do I feel that I should keep it because it's a big investment for the previous owner? Don't know. Let me know what you think. What would you do? Is a batwing fairing cool on a Rocket 3 or not cool? Would it look better with a different kind of screen or no screen at all? Once again, let me know in the comments. Anyway, join us in the next one and we'll go and see the detailer, see if we can clean up this old girl. I'll see you then.